there's a verse that I memorized. It says, now the Bereans are more noble character than the Thessalonians because they search the scriptures to see if what Nehemia said is true, or what Paul said is true.
You know what I always loved about that verse?
Yeah.
About the Thessalonians and the Bereans is that they didn't search the scriptures the way it formulates it to see that what Paul said was true, but whether what Paul said was true.
That's right.
They're opening up the possibility. Maybe it's not true.
Maybe it's not.
Right? So they weren't proof texting. That's the thing people do today. They proof text. We have this doctrine. Now let's find all the verses that support our doctrine. Instead of let's look at all the verses in the text and then determine what the doctrine should be. And so I love that that's the Bereans were doing. The Bereans were doing what we're doing. They were looking to find out, okay, let's look at all the texts and see if this really plays out rather than proof texting to prove what you already believe.
So I want to give my reason why I think people should do it, and that is that I have been experiencing this with you since 2002. That's a lot of time, and the way that it has changed me, Nehemia, is for me to be able. I used to get so frustrated. I'd ask you a question, you'd say, "Well, have you searched?" Hey, Nehemia, can you tell me such and such? And you'd say, "Well, go here." And I used to get frustrated. This was back in the day before quick little. This is the days where you had to.
My wife goes through this every morning.
No.
We wake up in the morning and we do a Bible study.
Right.
And she'll say, so here's her little notebook, a little pink notebook, and she's writing. She says, okay, so Nehemia, what's such and such? Let's see what the Tanakh says. Oh, can't you just tell me? No, let's let Yehovah tell you. And we read it in the Tanakh.
Yeah.
And is that not what happens? she's just sitting back there confirming. Yeah. And I just, it really comes from my guiding philosophy in life comes from this motto that comes from sometime around the 8th century. There was this Karaite teacher, and he lived at a time, and what I love about this is I experienced this myself. He lived at a time where he was told, you have to accept the interpretation of these great rabbis, of these great sages. It doesn't matter if you disagree, you have to accept that interpretation. I was told that. And that was the reality, that was the legal reality in his time. In my reality, it was the religious social reality, right? Meaning you could actually get executed back then if you didn't agree with that. And he came up with this motto, which was, search well in the scripture and do not blindly rely on anyone's opinion. And the point there was, it's the exact polar opposite of what the rabbinical Judaism teaches. As far as I know, it's the polar opposite of what Catholicism teaches, which is you have to obey what the Pope teaches and what the church teaches, and you have to not only obey it, but believe it, or at least certain things that they teach. And here he says, no, follow what God says in Scripture. So I don't want to be that teacher who just says, I'm the Bible answer man. Here are the answers. Accept everything I say. Don't accept anything I say. Go and search it for yourself, and if I'm wrong, follow the truth. And I do that with the audience. I do it with my own wife because she needs to see it for herself. And it's so much more powerful when she sees it for herself than, well, my husband told me this is what God says.